on board. We got the edit in the first 1 second. All right, let's try again. 3, 2, 1. Hello and welcome to the Stacking Dingers Show, your home for all things Underdog and DraftKings MLB Best Ball. I'm your host, Matthew, aka Sheep, aka Dark Sheep. Find me on Twitter at D4RKSH33P_. We are in the Infielders tonight. We are continuing our position rundown shows. We are going to be talking about the top half of the Infielders by ADP, and we have, as usual, my partner and co-host Billy Jones at SportsVizBJ on Twitter, and joining us tonight in the guest slot, Jason, aka WoowooJTrain, where you can find him on Twitter under that. Welcome, Jason. Are you excited for the marathon?
I am. Yes, looking forward to this. This is awesome. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah. So we actually have Jason on tonight, and on the bottom half of the Infielder rundown, we are going to be having Brad, who you saw on the volume drafting episode. If you check that out, and you know him from crushing MLB dailies and talking, a lot of crap to Jason online. So Billy and I wanted to capture that dynamic, and so this is the new announcement. Starting this Saturday, we are going to be hosting a new show here on the Stacking Dingers channel called Jason and Brad Draft the Dinger. That's what I called it. Yeah, Jason and Brad Draft the Dinger. Draft a Ding. Jeez. I thought it sounded good, but apparently I didn't say it out loud ever. Jason and Brad Draft the Dinger.
And we thought way too hard for about like a clever name or whatever, and this is what we've landed on. So we're off to a great start, guys.
Yes.
Really.
Guys name, what they're doing.
Exactly.
Very descriptive, but
nothing catchy.
So I guess I don't even have to tell you what it is. Jason and Brad will be here on the channel drafting a dinger, and Jason will be kind of the host. I will be behind the scenes running the tech side. So we're really excited about that. We're hoping to capture your playful banter dynamic. We'll call it that.
I'm looking forward to it. It's always fun getting together with Brad, and I haven't really done any. Well, not really. I haven't done any streams on my own side this year yet. So pretty good reason for that. But we'll talk about that on the show on Saturday. A little teaser for personal announcement thing.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah, I really enjoyed watching you in the past and drafting with you. In the past, so it's gonna be fun to watch that, and yeah, you two are kind of hilarious together. So we, as Sheep and I, had been talking on the side of like, we got to get one of those in our wheelhouse. I feel like that'll be the most watched show of the entire year. So let's make it happen, people. Let's show up on Saturday.
Let's do it. But can we get this one more likes than the one Brad records? Because I will quite literally never hear the end of it if his recorded video outlikes mine. So
I mean, I would like you to like all of the videos. We don't usually ask for it.
I would too, but let's get at least one more on this one. I would appreciate that. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, and I do want to actually go back to last week's sheep seats. This is gonna be a great show, guys. My brain's already fried. Last week's sheep seats that I did, because I don't think enough people watched that, because that was a really fun stream. Supporter and viewer and friend of the show, Melch, had this idea of that he sometimes opens up packs of cards to help him, inspire him to do something different in a draft. So I kind of gamified that and built a little game that he and I had to draft certain players to try and score points based on the packs of cards we opened, and then we hung out and opened some. So I think it's criminally underwatched so far in terms of recent videos. But yeah, let's enough of that. let's get into the meat of the episode and let us pull up the infield rundown. As usual, we will be providing beautiful slides made by Billy. As we did in the outfield show, we're going to run down first how the position is being drafted throughout the draft. We have this beautiful chart updated by Billy from that show before. This shows where in the rounds certain positions are going or the amount of that position is going. And there's some pockets of rounds with 2s and 3s, but for the most part, the infield, which we're talking about now, is drafted pretty evenly throughout the whole draft, as compared to the outfield, which we can feel and is bunched up there in the first 8 rounds.
Yeah, after round one, it's pretty consistently infield half or a third to a half, like an even spread, steady state throughout round one, as we had talked about in the outfield shows, was that like that is all just outfielders, and that's a scarcity thing. And I mean, outfield in general is just like holistically pulled up. And the byproduct is infield. But yeah, infield is, we're going to go through if you went by comparison of numbers, they're going to outscore those outfielders pretty much at every point in the draft after round one. So it's how you fit these guys in to maximize those points is kind of the real like strategy here.
Yeah, I was describing to somebody today who was just starting their first draft on DraftKings, and they hadn't ever drafted on Underdogs either. It's like their first best ball draft. I said, and this was an experienced roto drafter, so I just said, make sure you maintain the room. You don't want to get behind on outfield and pitcher, and fit in infield value when it works. That's kind of like the real simple way to think about these drafts, and as that is what the field is doing based on this distribution too. All right, let's get into it. Round 1 and 2. Round 1, Bobby Witt Jr., Billy. A lot of people are, their argument for taking Bobby Witt Jr. here above, after the first 5 outfielders is that he is the one infielder they think can outscore the outfielders.
Yeah, the tricky thing with infield is like how many points above replacement are they actually going to score, because the replacement is so good throughout the draft. But Bobby Witt, as you see on a point per plate appearance perspective, because all these guys are max volume guys, except for Nick Kurtz, which we'll get to. He has like a full like 0.1, which is pretty material, almost like 0.15 points per plate appearance, like than the next highest projected person. And he does it with this very well-rounded game, hits for power, can absolutely run. So he stretches singles into doubles into triples, hits in a park that's great for it too, traditionally. And they did tweak it a little bit, but they brought the outfield fences in, which you would think would be better for him. I'm looking at his spray chart from last year, and he's got a lot on the warning track, and I'm like pretty excited. But as you nailed it at the top, it does become kind of tricky to that pairing that you put together with Bobby Witt in a second round outfielder versus one of those first round outfielders and one of these great second round infielders, but he himself is a stud.
Yeah, exactly. I should say, if you haven't watched one of these episodes before, what we have here that we're going to be looking at is the name of the player, the team, their ADP, what round they're being drafted in, the positional rank, and then using the BatX projections by Derek Carty, we show the plate appearances, the underdog total points scored based on the projection. This is important to know that this is the entire baseball season worth of points, not the entire underdog season worth of points. So, then when you're applying the plate appearances and the point total, where are they missing that? How does that fit into the schedule is something to think about. But this just gives us a general benchmark to look at scoring. And then in addition to that, we look at the scoring per plate appearance to really get the spikiness or the ability to score points regardless of volume. And then just kind of two general metrics on hitting the WOBA, weighted on base average, and the K percent, which kind of gives you a quick idea of what kind of hitter those guys are.
Yeah, how much thump do they have, and how much like the swing and miss is really can be. And they're going to talk about some later infielders. Okay, it gets scary. So if you can't hit the ball, it's not going to go out of the ballpark. This is pretty simple math there.
Rule 1, hit the ball. Okay, so moving on, Jason, Jose Ramirez, the one of the people that everybody says is the most underrated players in baseball, despite everyone saying it. But he is maybe underrated in the underdog game based on how he's scored points in the past few seasons, regardless of what is around him.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, so I'm looking at my exposures and just looking at this, I'll call it slate, right? So dinger, bunt, base hit, right? I have not drafted Jose Ramirez yet, and it doesn't feel awesome, but at the same time, I'm not like lamenting it too much. I don't think he's a guy that I want 0 of, but there's such a premium on outfielder in this range, and even if you get an 11th or 12th pick, like to me, I've been gravitating towards Ellie De La Cruz if I want to go infielder, or just tapping outfielder twice. It doesn't really feel great to be fading Jose Ramirez, and it's not like I don't think he can put up points or anything. It just, I don't like the offense nearly as much as like the Reds offense, for instance. I think is going to be significantly better this year, especially if they can stay healthy. He's a great player. He's probably going to put up 1,500 plus points locked in. I'm just choosing to do other stuff right now.
Yeah, I'm with you. I have also 0 of him. He put up a lot of points, and he didn't have a huge advance rate either last year. We saw a phenomenon where early infielder did not have a great advance rate, despite the ones that did score well. Ellie De La Cruz here is maybe the guy that you're taking instead a little bit more, Jason.
Yeah, when I think of like Ellie played last year from July on with, I think it was a partially torn quad, right? And he still put up 1,500 points. Like, if this guy is healthy, he's absolute chaos. It's just so much fun to watch. I wasn't getting to him, last year when he was like in the middle of the first round. But if I have, an 11th or 12th pick, I've been getting to Ellie quite a bit this year because I think his spike potential is just absolutely massive. His week-to-week floor is probably really low. I mean, he's got a almost 30% K rate. So he's going to have these stretches probably where he, maybe doesn't give you a score, but when he goes nuts, and those are the guys that I really try to gravitate towards, you want to have the guys that go absolutely ballistic when it matters the most. So I have been getting to Ellie quite a bit. I think I'm at like 12% right now with him. So nothing crazy, but definitely above the field. Just feels like the most, when you compare him to Jose Ramirez, I don't know. I'm just leaning into this narrative that he has more spike potential than Jose does, but I think Jose's floor is definitely better.
Yeah. Vladimir Guerrero next. We are now well into round 2, or the middle of the round 2, ADP of 16. Billy Vlad. He's always underperforming his projections. His projections are always out there. I'll be honest, I always fall for him every year. This was going to be the year that I wasn't going to fall for it. And then I watched him in the playoffs, and he played exactly how I feel like he should play all year long. I mean, obviously some regression coming back, but yeah, it has gotten hard not to want to draft him.
Yeah, if rankings were tied directly to projections, Vlad would be end of the first round pick. But that's not how it works, because this entire community has done it multiple years in a row, as you said, seeing him kind of underperform. And I understand why projections can't understand Ellie De La Cruz because his profile, as you can see, is a ton of swing and miss. Somehow doesn't get to a ton of power comparatively to everyone here, too. But like, he's just absolutely electric. Like his speed and the way he plays the game is just not really like you see otherwise. Vlad on the opposite, like, is this classic traditional hitter, thumps the ball, makes a ton of contact. You look at his savant, it's just blistering red, right? And so like the projections love that, and they know what they're getting. They know how that style of player works, and you just kind of project it to stay as is. So like I can understand why it's just like from a floor, like it definitely on a median, like you're really confident with Vlad. I've been drafting him a little bit. I think I try to get good prices on him. Definitely not a fade for me in any manner. I think in this whole range, I'm going to talk about how I'm in love with Nick Kurtz. But like Vlad is, if you pair him with the start outfielder round one, Vlad round two, you got like a premium guy right there that could get you 1,500 points is what you're for a full season here. You kind of wind that back to whatever we get for Underdog. That's like a significant number, and you're just rolling. So like as your anchor infielder, is a great pick.
Yeah, I'm all over actually these three guys. I feel like in general, round 2 and 3 infielders, I'm taking more than outfielders. I think these outfield rounds I'm not as in love with, and I'm maybe against type here, and maybe I am waiting too long in outfield, but I'm getting one outfielder in the first 3 more than I expected, because Jason, this next guy, Gunnar Henderson, we see a full healthy year out of him. Like it's, I mean, he doesn't project exactly the same, but it's easy to say he's reaches Bobby Witt levels.
Yeah, and I think it's just a question of like what is his ceiling? Did we see it in 2024? I mean, he hit 37 home runs, drove in 92, scored 118, 21 stolen bases. I mean, he put up almost 1,700 underdog points in 2024. So is that his ceiling? It's pretty hard to go over that. So maybe, but I'm willing to kind of guess that he can get there again. Baltimore's offense is, even better than it was last year. He wasn't really healthy for a good chunk of last year. I think he had a shoulder thing for a good chunk of the year, which is obviously going to sap power. So I definitely have been getting to Gunnar quite a bit. I'm a little bit over the field right now, and I plan on continuing to do that. And just, the Baltimore stack just feels really, really good too. So I like to kind of set that up early in the draft. But Gunnar's a guy I believe in, and he's a guy I'm going to keep targeting this year, and hope he's healthy and see if he can put up another 1,600 point season.
Yep, exactly. The Orioles are a team that look exciting on paper. I still, have I am targeting them, but I have some questions like how much of the failures of last year are being ignored in terms of still wanting the upside on all these young players. So I do have some concerns, but projection-wise, their team should smash on offense. And Billy, the team that we keep talking about in these shows, the Athletics, that are still in the minor league ballpark, that just have these insane wind and weather-related bonuses when they're at home. Nick Kurtz, I saw today somebody his first pitch against a live pitcher was a 120 mile exit velocity home run.
Yeah, that's stupid. You get that. I was gonna make the joke that this guy's 6'5", 240, and he has to play in a high school baseball field. It's kind of unfair. This is one where I'm like super intrigued on how this works, because we'll knock players for swing and miss. This guy's swing and miss is as bad as it gets. When last year, if you look at like his Savant page, whiff first percentile, strikeout percentage 4th percentile. Like that's bad, like really bad. But when he makes contact, it is so impactful. It is ridiculous. In 489 plate appearances last year, 36 home runs. Like I'm gonna make a bold claim. He's gonna go north of 55 this year. Like I think in full playing time, top of that lineup in a fake ballpark. Like I think that this is a guy who is the first rounder too. And I think that with every one of these guys, you can make that claim. They can't all do that, but if there's one guy who I think is going to be like, oh my gosh, this is Barry Bonds like type of like power, like I think that this guy could do it. So I'm really intrigued by that.
Yeah, and I think for the most part people are ignoring it, but the plate appearances don't seem to match. There was some fatigue down the line last season that maybe is being built into these plate appearance projections, that he was taking some days off towards the end just because his first season. But I would say that should be behind him now, and a full off season to work out and just be ready to go for, and knowing what he needs to do to maintain his body in the majors. He should be the same plate appearance projections, I think, as all these other guys up here.
And
yeah, for sure.
I don't think it's insane to say, like, we get to the end of the the underdog season or whatever, if he has the highest scoring week, like, period, of any hitter, like, will we be floored by that? Like, his spike potential is, it's incredible. So I agree with you guys. Like, that ballpark is just beautiful to hit in, and I think that he's not a guy you can fade. You just can't do it. Not in this format.
Yes. All right. Round 3, ADP 24.3. We're at the 7th infielder, and we have Jason, the hero of last year. Anecdote here. I was talking, or somebody was asking, oh, hey, are your rankings updated? And they were looking at last year's rankings. And I was like, those are last year's, but just curious, where did we have Cal Raleigh? And I had him at like 150 or something like that. I think his 40% advance rate, Jason, kind of put that out of the water.
Yeah, I think he was good last year, putting it lightly. Yeah, I mean, you obviously see the massive, jump in price over last year, and I definitely fell victim to this earlier this draft season, where I was like, I got a good value on him last year. I had, I think, a good amount of him last year, and it wound up working out great. And it's almost like, well, now I don't really want to pay this price for this guy because of what I paid last year, which is a really dumb way of thinking. I know that deep down. I finally have crested that and got out of my own way here and started drafting him a little bit. But with the season that he put up last year, like, if he does like anything close to that, he should be going at the back end of the first round or in the second round, right? So there's definitely a world where, even though we're paying, a 24 ADP price, we're getting him at the turn, pairing him with like a Judge, Soto, Ohtani type team, like, that feels incredible. And if he had maybe not a repeat of last year, but something even remotely close to it, I still think we're getting a little bit of value here. But it is kind of like, it was sticker shock for me based on what we spent on him last year. He goes bananas, and now he's here. It makes sense, and you could definitely make an argument he should be going a little bit higher, to be honest.
Yeah, and you can look at what he did last year and say, oh, I don't want to chase a historic season. But then you look at his projections and this number that we're getting for the projections. It's not because of his historic season. It's not projecting him for another historic season. It's projecting him for a really good season again. So it's not like the numbers that you're seeing here are influenced by that. Like, you might think your brain's being influenced by it, but the numbers don't lie, man. So yeah, I think the Seattle stack is interesting as well. But we just talked about the Baltimore Orioles stack. Pete Alonso now in Baltimore. Billy, I don't know. The more that comes out about the Mets and the more things they do, like, I'm almost wondering this is just, I don't know. I've just thinking about this today with some of the stuff they're saying about uh, their players this year, and Steve Cohen talking about how he's never going to have a captain and all this kind of weird stuff. Like, I just like, maybe the vibes are just bad. I mean, Mets fans know the vibes have been bad forever, but it was supposed to be different. But I kind of love Pete getting out of there, I guess is where I'm going with this.
I agree. I mean, the Pete Alonso is not going to be a bad pick in this at the where this is. He's going to hit 35 to 45 home runs in that range, and just be good. You know what he is at this point. I would think that it's an improved park. It's an improved offense that he is now involved in. One of my favorite things to do, and I know it's not necessarily a perfect analysis, is to look at Savant and then look at how many home runs they would have hit if they were all in that team. And if in Camden Yards for the Orioles, he hit 45 last year, bumping up from 38. So like that, I love that for him. And so I think that, yeah, as you said, better vibes, better offense. He's got a lot of lefties around him, that high quality lefties that could protect him. So, and I love when the Orioles went out and got him to make him like a priority in that team. So, yeah, I think he's just a rock solid pick.
I mean, Juan Soto's a pretty good protection lefty, but
yes, yes,
I understand your point. Well, we can't totally rule out losing Juan Soto hitting right next to you. I mean that, but we hope Gunnar is on that level again this year, and maybe this is kind of a correlative bet. Kind of hard to put them together with ADPs though.
Mm-hmm.
Francisco Lindor, speaking of the cursed Mets, Jason, one of the contagious hamate bone injuries. All indications like this year on all these players seem still positive, and their ADP's slipping, not maybe as much as it did in the first news of the day or the day the news broke. But I personally wasn't really chasing Lindor much to begin with. So I guess where is the place that you like him then, Jason? I see you shaking your head no.
Yeah, I'm not really. I would love to see people react a little bit more to the hamate bone thing and have him drop a little bit, but I mean he's in a range with Raleigh, Alonso, Matt Olson, who I like a lot, like Cam. I'm having a really hard time getting to Lindor over these other infielders in this range. The guy's as consistent as it gets. I mean, he's basically Jose Ramirez in the third round, just maybe to a little bit lesser degree. So I don't, his consistency and everything. It's just he feels like a really, really safe, fine pick. It just doesn't excite me, and I haven't been getting there all that much. But I am, curious to see if he drops a little bit in the immediate term, like, maybe people think he gets the surgery a little bit later than he should have, and if he's going to miss a week, people will overreact to that. Like, I don't care if he misses a week. I'll take a guy who's going to miss just 1 week of time, but it's just been really hard to click him for me with other guys in that range, even though he is definitely one of the most consistent players you can draft.
We need a news blurb that says not likely to make opening day.
Yes.
Something kind of vague. Doesn't say he could be there 1 week after, but we need something that says that, and then let him drop into that like 4th or 5th round.
Yep.
Yeah. Next up, Matt Olson. Speaking of consistent, one of the most, or I think the most played appearances in the last, 5 years of any player. I guess I'm buying back in on the Braves a bit, Billy, but like, when do we get concerned about Matt Olson, just the volume he plays and how that's going to affect him as he ages, maybe more so than other guys that actually take rest days?
Yeah, it's kind of what like the Braves do, is they just run it full volume like that, and they do with like a lot of their roster. He plays first base at like a very high level, great defender, which really helps him. And I guess of all of the positions, I would think first base is probably one of the less taxing. But you are right in the sense he plays a ton, which could be seen as like he's Iron Man. He's going to rack up a ton of volume in a game that's about points and volume. So you could think about it that way, or you could be like, oh, is this higher risk? One thing I do think is interesting, like if you look at his savant year over year, he didn't really have like down years from like how hard he hit the ball the last 2 years. He just had like this outrageous year in 23 that he hit when he hit 50. So I think that his like we know who he is really, and I think that it's really great. And then when you're in a stack with Acuna and you play that team is elevated, I think Matt Olson is like a spectacular pick. So yeah, he's definitely someone I'm targeting.
Yeah, and I mean, the bat is the lowest on him here. Some of the other systems like him, so I do wonder about that. You can see he is the point per plate appearance lowest on this list. He's even dipping into the red range, whatever that means exactly. But that's kind of our guide as we look at this to quickly interpret the data. You can see that he is dropping off. Jason next, Junior Caminero. It's simple with him. Is moving back to the Trop going to be a problem?
I'm concerned that it's going to be, because you look at his home road splits last year and his numbers were significantly better at home, air quotes, in the minor league park than away. I'm still not fading him though, because I think Junior Caminero is just freaking awesome. So, I'm kind of planning on being right around the field on him. He's not a guy that I'm willing to fade again. He hit 45 home runs last year. I think his ceiling is just great. Like, the offense isn't overly inspiring. The field is definitely a significant downgrade. I do think, maybe there's a little bit of smoke behind the home road splits, but he's a guy that I just want, to have, because he's one of the best young players in the game.
Yeah, I think the home run splits are a little bit oversold, because, like, who's he facing on those? Like,
right?
What team? I don't know. I don't love it. It's just pretty small sample size.
You know what it kind of reminds me of, and I don't mean to interrupt you, I'm sorry, but like, I meant to bring this up. It kind of reminds me of of Vlad, right? Vlad had the one season in Dunedin where he went insane, and we saw the power we keep hearing about, and then in the last 4 seasons, I think his highest home run totals, 32. Which home runs aren't everything, but when you look, I mean, his bat X projection is 32 home runs this year for Vlad, and he's only done that once in 4 years, right? So I do kind of draw these parallels between, like, maybe Junior Caminero is a little bit boosted because of that minor league park or whatever. Again, I'm not going to fade him, and I'm still going to draft him, but it is stuff that I'm kind of got noodling around in my head a little bit.
Yeah. Next up, Billy, we are now entering round 4, ADP of 36.5. We have another first baseman, Freddie Freeman, who has not had quite the same value, is a bit older than Matt Olson. The whole swap of the two of them, that whole scenario is well in the past at this point. These guys feel it's kind of funny now to think about, oh yeah, Freddie Freeman wasn't always a Dodger, because at this point I just have blindness to that period behind, because it just makes sense. But he still projects fine. Like, the age is going to catch up to him, but he seems fine. I don't know.
Yeah, I grew up in Atlanta, so Freddie Freeman is a Brave to me, in my mind.
Sorry.
So take that back. No, but no. So Freddie. So with the question with Matt Olson was, are you concerned that he's starting to age and break down? Matt Olson's 31. I think he's still very much in his physical prime, right? Like Freddie Freeman, for the last couple of years, we started to see him break down a little bit. And on a Dodgers team that doesn't need to push it, their goal is to make the playoffs, ideally win their division, but make the playoffs. And once they're there, they're dangerous. And so Freddie Freeman needs to make it at the end, and I could definitely foresee this world where he doesn't have to play max volume. He's going to be the first guy on this tonight where I'm going to be like a stack only, because he's always going to be a part of like the premium top of the draft on a daily, and part of the top of that lineup. But I'm not really trying to do it unless I'm drafting him with a Dodger. That is definitely a little tricky though, because Ohtani does not fit where he fits at all. So you kind of have to do a Kyle Tucker. And then how do you do that? Like, you're going to pull him up for a stack only so you can tack on Mookie Betts. You don't like that. The premium players don't really fit too perfectly. So you kind of got to do it with some later guys. So yeah, I find drafting Freddie kind of tricky right now, but he's also, as you said, not a bad pick.
Yeah, the one time I did have an Ohtani stack, or my first Ohtani draft that I got in the Dinger, I did pull him up quite a bit so I could get that fuller Ohtani stack, because it pays to point out these guys are all going to be paired together in a lot of forms. Freddie, Mookie later, both of those guys are going to be with Ohtani or with Tucker a lot, as well as guys later. So it is something to be concerned about a little bit, but obviously we're doing it because the offense is awesome. Let's jump Mookie Betts up into this conversation, Jason. He is ADP of 43. I know that you have a very specific question and a very specific answer about Mookie Betts as to where you are on him. So I'll just let you take the floor there.
Yeah, so Mookie is one of my most drafted players right now. I'm leaning into this narrative that losing 20 pounds in like 5 days right at the beginning of the season is bad and really saps your ability to play baseball at a high level. I do not think that he's washed. I think last year was definitely an anomaly. Does he have almost 1,800 point season in him like in 2023? Like, I'm not sure, but that offense is going to be absolutely elite with the healthy offseason and putting that weight back on, getting back into like his normal shape. I mean, I wouldn't be floored if he dropped a 1,700 point season. I've been getting quite a bit of Kyle Tucker, so he's a perfect stack partner. I think Mookie Betts, for me, he's just been one of my preferred targets. I really am leaning into this narrative that like a healthy offseason for him will get him back to the guy he was in 2023. Maybe not to that level, but at least close.
Yep, makes sense. Bryce Harper, he's been around forever, Billy, but we saw a little bit of what felt like a down year, but you look at his points and he matched his 2023 production in terms of Underdog scoring. It just didn't match up with the kind of like the peak 2024 season of recent history.
Yeah, he didn't really like push max volume. He had like 580 plate appearances, so there's definitely more juice on what was last year's like 27 home runs. I still think he's like roughly a 30 home run guy. I think the part that I struggle with Bryce Harper here is there's a lot of guys in this range I could definitely dream on like a bigger ceiling. I don't really see like the mega ceiling from Bryce Harper anymore. That being said, I do also think he is like Mr. Baseball and is going to have whatever like it is for a while. So I don't really foresee him like having this massive drop off. He's just like kind of that guy that just like gets in the lab and like he loves baseball. So like I just really think if he's going to age well.
Well, I don't know if you look at pictures of him.
The mustache is atrocious.
And like some of the labs that he's going to are a little bit suspect. I'm, as someone who is, not a fan of all these alternative medicine type ideas. I do have concerns about someone who has that line of thinking. I'll just say that way. Some of these things that he's maybe doing this off season, but he's got the money for it, so he can do whatever he wants. And like you said, he's not going to put like his body in harm's way because he he is. I mean, you talk about the epitome of baseball player. He's been that since 18. He's had the whole kind of the whole career arc and the whole personality arc. He's maybe going back to some of the crazy from the early days. But anyway, we don't need to pontificate about his mental space too much. Maybe I did. Apparently I did because I did do it. Let's move on, Jason. ADP right next to him, 42. Ketel Marte, the Arizona Diamondbacks. They're not good this year. Especially if you look at it next compared to last year. But Ketel Marte has been a guy that has just been a solid producer on Underdog forever. Yes,
and he projects really well. And I have virtually zero. He's a really solid player, and he put up 1,240 points last year in 126 games. So missed a little bit of time, but I question what his true ceiling is. We look back the last 4 seasons in this format, 1389 is his highest point total. There's probably more there. He was definitely on his way. If he played the entire season last year, he's definitely on his way to surpassing that. But he's falling in this range where I really believe in Mookie Betts. I'm actually surprised at how much Harper I have. But he's not a guy I want to fade. I want Caminero, Olsen. He's just kind of lost for me. I don't love that offense. I love it even less with Carroll having a handmade bone thing too. There's a distinct possibility that Ketel Marte gets traded, which if he does, you would think he'd go to a contender. A contender doesn't, necessarily. Well, I guess the Diamondbacks offense is pretty bad, so a contender is probably going to have a better offense. But he's just not a guy that I'm really targeting. I don't feel great about it, but at the same time, I'm not exactly worried that he's going to bury me. I could be wrong for sure, but it just hasn't really shown that ceiling that I think these other guys have in this range.
Yeah, I guess I'd put him, Olsen, Freeman, Harper, Marte, Betts. I kind of put them all in the same camp where I think we're drafting them here for their volume and not ceiling. So yeah, I'm not looking for that out of him, and I'm just getting to a little bit of him myself, just because mostly because I've just been a fan of his, and I mean a lot of these guys are just fun to watch play baseball, so I want to make sure I have some of. But I get it, and that's not even factoring the outfielders that are going around here and where you're already losing out on the next tier of outfielders after this one. So it's pretty easy to miss these boring, maybe I'll call them high profile floor guys in general, but I personally don't want to miss them. So let's move on to round 5 and 6. So I mean, we can keep the conversation going. Manny
Yeah, I was
Machado,
about to say, can I just repeat what you said for the next 2 guys?
Yeah, Manny Machado, Trey Turner.
Yeah.
Trey Turner has not slowed down somehow. You'd think this profile of a player, as he ages, would be slowing down, but still, the sprint speed is still top percentile. It's always been above 95%. So he's aging fine. Manny Machado is Mr. Consistent, just kind of like the leader on that Padres team. So yeah, I think we can say the same thing. I'm drafting both, and Machado probably more, but I'm not sure. We have a duplicate Billy there.
I don't know how this happened. Yeah, we're on a hot stream right now. A lot of technical difficulties.
That was fun. But Jazz Chisholm is next. Billy, we saw some great per plate appearances things from him again last year. Missed some time. The projections match that, but are we still dreaming on the fully healthy Jazz Chisholm season?
Yeah, we've been talking, like we've had like probably the last 20 minutes talking about like good point scoring, boring volume. Jazz Chisholm's the first guy where it's like, okay, best ball, let's talk about this. Like, and so yeah, he's kind of like is he a good hitter? I'm not exactly sure, but when he does hit the ball, he hits it pretty hard, and he's got all of the other like potential factors. He's pretty athletic, like can steal some bases. He's in a great ballpark, and got like the team hits around him. Like what I guess like Jazz works, and so yeah, like and then when you look at his per plate appearance, he's projected on the lower sides, which is all interesting when you kind of like tease that out. Does he get more volume? So I guess Jazz is interesting. The question I pose to you is like, why are they projecting 589? Is that like at any platoonish risk, or is that like because they just don't think he can stay healthy?
Yeah, that is an important distinction. I would say it's because of health, but I have not.
Platoon slash defense is a better way to put it. Does he get taken off the field for defense too?
I don't know that off the top of my head.
Okay.
We would have to do some research, which is what we should have done for the episode. No, I'm just kidding. It does feel like as we're doing this, like, oh man, I should have looked at this about that person, and then that's why we have three people here. Hopefully, nothing falls.
Fill in the gaps.
Yeah, not everything falls through the cracks. Back to boring. Austin Riley, Jason, Brave stack. Only are you thinking that this is good value compared to previous seasons? We were drafting him a lot higher.
And that's exactly what I'm leaning to. I have almost 25% right now of Austin Riley. Yeah, I'm in big on him. He's missed basically a third of the season the last 2 years because of various injuries. I think sports hernia was the one last year. I think it's just kind of a twofold thing. I do think that some of that ceiling that we saw in like 22 and 23, I'm just choosing to believe that still exists. And I'm also just really in on the Braves this year. Like I'm taking Acuna anytime that I can, a fourth pick or later. If Acuna's there, I'm drafting him. I'm getting to a lot of Olsen. I'm getting to a lot of Riley. I'm really trying to stack the Braves more this year. I'm definitely drafting Austin Riley as a one-off. I don't know. I'm just kind of making a bet that he's got potentially one of the highest ceilings in this range. I think, probably a little bit too in on him right now. I think 25% may be a little crazy, but he's just been an early target of mine. And I'm just kind of hoping he returns to form and stays healthy.
Yeah. Billy, next guy, Zach Nato. Now we are in round 6, ADP 61. He was not be drafted in every draft last year. He came into the season just fresh off shoulder surgery. We knew he was going to miss time. Everybody was fairly excited about what he's shown already, and then he kind of proved why we had been excited for him.
Yeah, power speed guy, plays middle infield. Kind of has like a glitchy approach, so the super pull for power kind of fly ball kind of approach, but it works. And I love him. I think in terms of like a target because of the fact, like I think that I like any of the names that are lesser known, just because I think in general name value has like a stickiness in terms of like rankings, and so I think that like when you look at his projections, he's per plate appearance, he's the second highest on this list behind Jazz. And then on a totals perspective, he's the highest projected total on this sheet. So I think like when you kind of look at what he does and what he's projected to do, he's like has a lot of value there. I think the one kind of downside is we don't really think too highly of the Angels, but the upside here is that he's only 25 years old and there's maybe more in there. So I've been drafting a lot of him. There's definitely a lot of opportunities where he falls too. So it's kind of drafting him ahead of ADP and then also behind ADP.
Yeah, he's a blind spot for me, I'll admit. Maybe my problem is the name recognition. And, I'm still, maybe I'm too tied to these names that I think are worth it the round before. And you're going to benefit more from taking the the future.
And I
Jason,
will say on that point that it is, I believe he's the first angel, right? So like
Yeah.
you're in round 6, so you kind of starting to think stack, and
It's really easy to pair him and Trout too. You know, Trout is right around like the 70-ish range, a little bit past 70 right now. And so Neto is a fun little stack partner with Trout, and then they've got a lot of late pieces that you can fit into. So
yes, exactly. I was going to default to Jason there to know if he was the first angel because he would know exactly where Mike Trout was going.
yeah, Mike Trout should be the first angel, but you know, it's another discussion.
Joe Adele.
We have. Oh yeah, is Joe Dell going before him now?
No, but
No.
no.
Okay. Jason Geraldo Perdomo. I was getting crap for my pronunciations of other names, so that's a real good start.
That's the only thing you looked up before the episode.
I did not. But Perdomo last year also was not being drafted in every draft, I don't believe. But he's now being drafted here for the entirely opposite reason of Zach Neto. It's not that he was exciting last year. It's just that he played at max volume.
Yeah, I mean, 161 games, 720 plate appearances last year. Like, really wasn't. I don't remember him ever really being drafted. Like, very seldomly last year. One of the I wouldn't even say one of the, probably the biggest surprise of the entire underdog scoring season last year. Just came out of nowhere. I was drafting him like crazy in the bullpen. Just I don't know. It definitely feels like 1,600 points is probably his ceiling. But I mean, with the volume that he gets, like I could totally see people, drafting him knowing he's just going to get a ton of at bats. But again, the Diamondbacks offense just isn't going to be great. He's just he's getting lost for me amongst Neto, Riley, and Machado. So I'm probably not going to get to much of him. I'm kind of surprised his ADP is kind of stuck here. I thought he was going to drop quite a bit, especially once projections came out. But maybe people are really leaning into that volume and just saying, I just want the guy who's going to have 700 at bats.
Yeah, he could do it again. I don't know that it's something that we want to chase. I was chasing it also early and kind of then looked into it because, if you look at his X stats, it wasn't like he was like super overperforming last year. Like he did break out last year, but it's not really to the same level that or excitement that like a Neto would go. So yeah, it's interesting that they're right next to each other, and maybe I need to get more Neto into my life. Just thinking about these two together, and the potential wins that we get by drafting a guy here. Next up, Billy, is the speed demon himself, Josh Naylor. He got the contract. Will he steal 30 bases again? Probably not, right?
Third percentile speed. Like that is unbelievable. Like I will say though, as someone who is not fast growing up, stealing bases is not about being fast. It's about like knowing what you're doing on the bases. So I do think that there's been maybe like is a new environment. They kind of let him do his thing and let him be a smart baseball player. But I mean, it is not responsible to expect that again this year. I think that you're probably going to get closer to like the 10, maybe 15 stolen bases from him. But I think that what is positive is that he is going to be on a better offense than he has been historically and is locked in for that. And they improved even a little bit more this offseason. So I like what they're doing. I think that he's a fine pick, particularly in stacks. Yeah.
Yeah, we don't love the park, but he still has enough power to get out
Mm-hmm.
there. All right, round 7, another I guess no, this is the first Cubs infielder. A bunch of outfielders are going ahead of Alex Bregman, Jason. Um, he is now in Chicago. Has his long-term contract. Uh, I don't know. I have anti-Cub biases all over, so I'll just let you tell me what you think about the placement there on that team and how he fits into our game too.
It definitely to me feels like a really good like real life baseball spot. Like it makes sense. I think he's going to help that lineup out. I think Cub fans are going to love him for sure. Um, I have virtually no interest at this price. There's legitimately like 5 guys on that list that I'd rather draft, who are being drafted after him that I would just rather draft. I think probably straight up maybe. So I'm not like overly excited about Bregman at that price. He's a solid player, and he's consistent. Just not very exciting to me where he's going right now.
Yeah. I guess Cub stacks make sense to me. Willie Adames, I think, pretty comparable to Alex Bregman in terms of, uh, kind of have their long-term home now that they're going to cruise out their careers. But Adames has kind of a worse hitting park depending on what the wind's doing in Chicago. But and also maybe not maybe, but a worse offense around him. Um, are you getting to any of him?
I like Willie Adames. I think the difference between Willie Adames and Alex Bregman is, I'd say, Alex Bregman's highly likely to hit in the teens home runs this year, just because it's the park downgrade and not a ton of power. I don't think it's there anymore. Willie Adames last year was like one of the first Giants in a while to hit 30 home runs. He's got the juice that can work with our game. So yeah, I like Willie Adames, a high volume guy with a little bit of thunder. Yeah, so someone I would draft in.
Yeah, I do take him more with that. I was thinking that was just my bias there against Cubs. But Jason, this is one of the more interesting stories of the offseason. Ben Rice, the savant, baseball savant wonder. The initial news that came out was that they wanted to play him more against and get more starts against lefties. Then they signed Paul Goldschmidt, and he has been falling precipitously in ADP. And now the latest blurb is saying, well, he'll catch on days that against lefties.
Yeah, I mean, Paul Goldschmidt's been one of my favorite baseball players for like years, and I was extremely upset when the Yankees signed him because of how in on Ben Rice I have been. I just feel like it's roster resource has Ben Rice in a platoon right now, and it just kind of feels unnecessary with how good of a hitter it looks like Ben Rice might be. His points per plate appearance is the second highest on this list, uh, and I mean maybe he keeps dropping a little bit. In which case I'll get back in. But I got quite a few shares early. I'm just kind of like sitting back and waiting for more news and to see what happens there. But I have been targeting Ben Rice quite a bit. I just think that the uncertainty around it's really hard to like commit to a platoon guy if he's going to actually be in one, even if he's on the strong side. It's really hard to pay, a 77 ADP for a guy who's going to platoon. So just going to kind of wait for some more information on him. But I mean, he definitely looks like a legit hitter, and in that ballpark, like his I think his power really plays well there.
Yeah, I'm kind of on the opposite trajectory of you. I was not getting him a ton of that early, and now I'm happy to click on the fall, just for that per plane appearance thing. But we'll see how it shakes out because that it is a high demand environment in to be a Yankee, right? Like they're gonna manage how they manage, and as much as they say he can play against lefties, as soon as he goes super cold against them, like how long does that last? But
Right.
I think now is the time to buy if you're out, and then maybe hold off and see how kind of spring plays out. Although the Yankees are a team, I don't know exactly how many players they have in the World Baseball Classic, but I don't know how much idea we're going to get about their lineups as the guys are gone for that in terms of who's playing in spring games. Next up, Billy 77 ADP, Vinny Pasquantino, one of the best Twitter games in baseball. Him and Brent Rooker are up there in my book I don't even follow any other players because those are the two guys to follow.
Yeah, the banter of Vinny P and Brent Rooker rivals Jason and Brad. That's all I gotta say.
Oh, that's elite company.
Oh yeah. I mean, that maybe we get them on for next Saturday. That'd be unreal. But yeah, so I actually I'm a fan of Vinny P, definitely in Bobby Witt stacks, maybe even definitely on his own as well. Could be a merchant of moved in outfield, but he's got like this interesting profile. He has a little bit of swing and miss, a little bit of chase, no swing and miss. Like he's just getting good power too. So like decent, like makes a fair amount of contact, pulls for in the ball in the air. Like I don't know, fan of him. Yeah, and he's part of that core of that offense.
Yeah, projections don't love him. Especially the Bad X isn't a big fan of him, but I'm forgetting about that. Maybe just because I want to cheer for him a little bit. I'll be honest. I was unknowingly. No, I won't say that. Anyway, next up, Jason, Corey Seager, ADP of 80. Another simple one. Corey Seager, can he stay healthy? He's got, the most probably of the last two slides of the per plate appearance. Maybe even go back. Yeah, he's got 2.2. We got to go back. The first, yeah, he's
Literally
up
round one,
1 and 2 in terms of underdog points per plate appearance. So, what is the outlook? Pull out your crystal ball. What's the Corey Seager health outlook?
Man, I was not drafting him early because I was like, I can't fall for this again. I just can't keep getting bludgeoned by this guy getting hurt and missing time. And then projections come out and I look at the Bat X and he's, projected seventh overall in WRC plus. And like, you just scroll back, his points per plate appearance projection, we got to go all the way to Jose Ramirez, I think, to find somebody who's projected for more points than him for plate appearance. So, I'm back in now. I'm drafting him, quite a bit. And I think you could easily make the argument that he should be going, much higher than this. But I think a lot of people who play this game have been burned by Corey Seager's, unwillingness to stay on the field, or not unwillingness, but lack of ability to stay on the field. And it's clearly what's suppressing his price. But when you look at guys who can just absolutely go nuke in a short period of time, and that's what we need in this game, especially when it matters the most. Corey Seager's he's not a guy that I can fade. My spite has lost to the magic projections this year, and I'm back in.
I've been on the same trajectory. I'm back into. I'm ready to get hurt again.
Yes,
I literally sit there want to do it, and then I have my finger over the button, and then I move the clicker and click someone else every single time. It's I can't do it. I can't do it. Back off.
Listen, man, if you want a lightning bolt charge of energy, draft a team with Buxton, Trout, and Seager on the same team. Oh man, you're living large.
Yes. I have not done that combination, but I can imagine it's wonderful. All right, Bo Bichette, just maybe one of the most undervalued guys last year. Billy, now he is Bo Bichette the Met. Does not project super well, but he, despite getting hurt and missing time, he had one of the highest hit totals in the game last year.
Yeah, he's fine in terms of like a stack. He's going to get you the volume. You build him into a Mets build. He's not traditionally the type of player that I like to draft, who's not overly spiky. He's a mass accumulator type of guy, but last year he got the mass accumulator and then some to make it all work, and had a little bit of pop along the way. So I don't know. He's not someone who I'm going to have outside of any Mets build at a decent little value too. So I would definitely put him clearly in like the fade target for me, favorite classification for me.
Yeah, he still had the third most amount of hits, despite he had the same amount of hits as Luis Arias, despite playing 38 less games. So, with that injury towards the end, so it's hard to fade, but I'm also kind of in the same camp. Another guy moving situations back to a situation he knows. Eugenio Suarez is back as a Cincinnati Red. Talk about going to the place where your power plays the best.
Yeah, I'm really mad at myself for not drafting him at all until that news broke. Like, it's really kind of a kick in the pants, but I am chasing him at the board a little bit. The last 5 seasons, over the last 5 seasons, he's at the 7th most home runs. Like, the guy just has pop. And yeah, he strikes out 30% of the time, but that offense, that park, it just feels like a really, really good fit for him. I don't really have like a price where I would be like, yeah, I'm not drafting him there right now, but I have been chasing him at the board a little bit because it just feels like a really, really good fit. And with his home run ability, it just feels like a guy that I don't really want zero of in that type of environment.
Yeah, and it feels like a kind of a low pressure. I know he's going to play. He still wants to play for a longer contract, but kind of low pressure situation. Like he can be a leader there with kind of a youthful Reds team, and he's well loved by the fans already. So, yeah, just a great situation. I did the same thing, Jason. You're not alone. I was, I, I still remember the like what 3.5 seasons ago, 2.5 seasons ago, he was about to be cut by like
Mm-hmm.
the Diamondbacks fans were like screaming for him to get cut because he was in that just this major slump and the strikeouts were the problem. But the landing place is right. Um, so next up, ADP of 89.8, CJ Abrams. It seems like Billy, I'm not hearing anyone happy about CJ Abrams this year to draft, whereas previous seasons people were still dreaming on kind of the ceiling of him.
Yeah, like previously, he's a toolsy kind of player, so you're kind of wish casting the upside. At this point, I'm pretty convinced he's not a good defender, and he's not a good hitter. He's just pretty fast. So why would I target him? And yeah, that's just kind of my very simple logic. Is that there's nothing keeping him in the field other than like there's no real competition. But like he doesn't really perform in the way that we want him to in this game, and don't really think that there's any more there. So yeah, you kind of keep sticking with me, guys, sticking me with guys that I'm kind of fading in the last couple ones, and he's going to continue in that.
Well, it is a random chance. I'm not trying to stick you with those guys, but I will take this next guy, William Contreras, because he is someone I am not fading. Uh, the I still think he's a great value. There's now, 2 full seasons of, is it 2 or 3? Well, 3 seasons over 600 plate appearances. So we know the Brewers use him as not just a catcher, right? We know that he's a even the games that he catches is like as much as possible. They give him as little as rest. I mean, I think he just the way he talks, he wants no rest. So it's a team and a player thing. He played with a broken finger for most of the season last year. If you're looking at kind of the power totals being down last year, so that I think that's not being factored in enough to projections or sentiment about him. So I want to get him. I do recognize that we're hitting a point. I guess he is still only 28, but like catchers can age quicker than other positions. So a max volume catcher, there is a lot of risk here, but I'm just back. I'm back.
I'm with you.
Okay, one more slide to go here, guys. We're doing excellent. Billy, speak up if if there's anybody here you need. So I don't want to give you all the bad ones. So,
No, I mean, I'll talk about it anyway.
Yeah, I know. Next up, though, round 9, Mikhail Garcia, Jason. The breakout happened for him last year, and he's going at what he probably should for what he showed last year.
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't know that he does. I don't know that I buy it. Right. I so far he's been virtually a full fade for me. I don't really love the offense, and it's not necessarily that like I don't think he can put up 1,300 points again. It just kind of in this range of guys that I like more. Like straight up, I'm probably going to take Michael Busch over him. Probably taking Yandy Diaz over him. Probably taking Matt Chapman over him. Literally just straight up. And these are guys that are going, around after him. So that's what I'm currently doing. I don't know necessarily that it's right. I'd love your guys' input on that, but he's just been a complete and total blind spot from me so far. And I don't really have plans to change that unless someone makes a pretty compelling argument.
I don't think you're gonna get one out of us. He's, I was trying to be positive there, and that he's a breakout. I was not a fan before. I did not really believe it. I did not like a ton about his profile, but yeah, stacks only. If you want to take him here, I think it's fine. I'm not, but he's also he's 25, so he still has plenty of room to grow too. And this could be a silly conversation next year if he finds something else. But projections aren't in love with him across the board. I mean, they kind of show a similar season to last year with a little less power. So I think it's fair where he's going. Michael Busch, though, Billy, he is a guy that we need to talk about in terms of platooning. Again, similar to the Ben Bryce idea, the team has come out and said that they do not want to platoon Michael Busch against lefties. But the Cubs are pretty strong in terms. I don't know exactly who they would pair him with, or if they have one to platoon with him. But what's the tea leaves here? I guess
I like Michael Busch. Guy who has a ton of power. Like his Savant page kind of jumps off the page with all the red there. In his prime, 28 years old. And if the platoon thing doesn't happen, there's more volume here to squeeze on this. And if it does happen, this projection seems totally fine. So could have some really good short bursts. Feels like a worst case scenario is like platoon plus, with upside scenario of having the full job. So someone I've been intrigued with. If I'm kind of building Cub stacks, I would rather do it through Bush than Bregman for sure.
Okay. Bryce Terang is next here, ADP 105. Projections, he's the most read here in terms of per plate appearance, and the WoW was the lowest. But I think I'm going to say this: I'm not getting to a lot of Bryce Terang here in my Brewers builds or on his own, but it is important to realize that he added his 4 miles per hour to his average EV last year. So the power that we saw was not like, while he did it kind of in spurts, it was not totally unfounded. Like there was a change for him last year, and I think if you want to tell yourself that he can replicate that he's a fine pick here and probably will outperform projections.
Yeah, I haven't really known what to do with him. I'm almost even with the field on him, which actually is surprising to me. I didn't think I had that much of him. Projections don't love him, but like he had a great season last year. I mean, he almost put up 1,400 points in this format. Seems to kind of do it in a lot of ways. It kind of feels like, why would I take Bryce Terang at 105 when I can take, Nico Horner at 133? Like they kind of feel like the same person. Horner hasn't hit quite the ceiling that, 1374 back in 2023. So they have had kind of like similar ceiling seasons so far. So, and it's not like I have a lot of Horner. It's just kind of like comparing the two guys. It feel like they're basically the same player. So I probably have more of him right now than I'm going to end up with, but I want to have a little bit and just see if last year was real.
Yeah. The year before he did it with stolen bases, the stolen bases came down. Maybe he loses some of the power, but the stolen base is somewhere in the middle, and he's put up a lot of points again. But it does feel just slightly too expensive for him.
Yeah.
And when we're getting into these infielders, we're really thinking about value over replacement. You said it great there, Jason. I mean, you just picked out example. We could probably, if we sat here long enough, find someone in the round, 17 or later that we could squint and make the comparison. So that is another thing we need to start thinking about a ton at this point. And thinking about, and this is also the point in the draft where you're thinking about how your position distribution is really going to shake out the rest of the way. But Yandy Diaz is here, getting up there in age. I think, Jason, you said he is a target?
Yeah, not as much as Matt Chapman.
Okay.
But still not quite double the field, but getting there. I think kind of the same concerns with going to the Trop, but he projects pretty well. He's a guy that I'm gonna keep drafting, but this feels like a range for me where I'm kind of just looking for a consistent, like third or fourth infielder into my team. And so if I'm looking for ceiling in this range, I'm usually chasing Michael Busch. I just think the power is real. But if I want consistency, I'm gravitating towards Yandy Diaz and Matt Chapman here.
Mm-hmm.
But Yandy just feels safe. It just how much of last year was because of the upgraded ballpark. You look at his point total from last year compared to 2024, and he scored 200 plus more points last year, but he did better in 2023 in this home ballpark. So, which version of him is kind of the real version? He's going to put up points. He's going to be in the lineup every single day. It just feels safe in this range.
Yeah, Billy, I guess Matt Chapman and Yandy Diaz, they're kind of similar in maybe not exact hitting profiles, but similar in these veteran guys that year after year, especially the Bat X, they've both been big targets by projections.
Yeah, there's certain guys here, the projection, you're like, he could be this, he could be this, and he could be this. Like, not with these guys. The projection is the projection, and we feel really damn good about it. And yeah, I think that with Yandy Diaz, like his only flaw really is he hits the ball downwards. But everything else is really good. I was looking at his Savant page, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is Vlad Jr. essentially, but a little bit lighter version of it. And Matt Chapman he's kind of been always the same guy that he's always been. Like, he's a good hitter. He's got some flaws, but he still gets to a bunch of pop. Last year got to 20 home runs, and there was still like 100 plus at bats available because he missed because of injury. And so I'm intrigued by Matt Chapman. I think that if Willie Adames isn't the only guy who could get to a 30 in the Giants, and I think that Matt Chapman could do it. Hopefully, like, it's not out of the range outcome. So I think if you haven't drafted any Giants, to go Adames and Chapman and call it a day with that team is a very fine way to draft.
Yes. All right. One more athletics guy, Jason. I'll admit he feels a little bit overpriced. Shea Langoliers, ADP of 115, but I'm still taking him with athletic stacks, and even on his own, just because we look at this per plate appearance thing, and he stands out. The question is, the catcher volume here.
Yeah, I need to get a little bit more of him, and I think I've primarily only been using him in stacks, but they play in a little league ballpark, and I don't know with how good his bat was last year. Like, is he really going to lose that many at bats? Because aren't they just going to DH him here and there? Like, I mean, I truly don't know. I'd have to look at roster resource. I don't have it up right in front of me right now, but like, it just feels like a guy that has quite a bit of pop and can score in bursts in this range. And I definitely want to get some more of him because he does feel like just a fun click here if you don't have too many concerns about the plate appearance volume.
Yeah, the difficulty is Brent Rooker. He played, I'm just looking here, he only played 28 games in the outfield last year. Rooker did. So he is kind of entrenched in that DH position, and they kind of have exciting outfield crew. And I saw, the spring news that Zach Geloff was going to be playing some outfield in spring to try and get some value back from him on the team where his bat kind of fell off last year. So that is kind of the difficulty there with Langoliers, is that he doesn't have that DH opportunity. But I mean, we go back to where I was just talking about William Contreras playing a bunch, but Christian Yelich played even less outfield than Brent Rooker last year, so he's kind of entrenched in that DH position too. So
I don't think that the A's are going to be chomping at the bit to get Austin Wins some at bats. So I think Shea is going to catch as much as he wants to catch, and maybe with just another year, of experience at the big league level, like maybe he catches more than we think he will. Again, he just feels like a fun click in this range.
Yeah, I just pulled it up quick. 108 games catching last year, 15 DH. So
yeah,
it seems that overlap, those games that Rooker played the outfield, he probably DH'd. So good to think about. Closing it out, Billy, Spencer Torkelson. First year in the majors, he hit 31 home runs. Second year, he hit 10. Last year, he hit 31. So will he hit 10 home runs this year? Because that is how math works.
Yeah, I mean, that's trends, right? So yeah,
this one goes up and down.
Yeah. Well, it's cycles, right? So Spencer Torkelson, like, what was story about like not giving up on like your premium talents? He was the 101 in his draft, and then come up awesome, gets the following season's trash. Literally, if I remember correctly, was sent back down to the minor leagues during that window of time. Um, and then comes up, no one was drafting him last year because there was like, is he even a major league player? And he was a major league player last year. So I don't think that 10 home runs is in play. I do think that he does pretty much get like the benefit of the doubt unless he starts to hit like sub 200.
Right.
And even at that point, I think they'd give him an opportunity to kind of work it out because they've seen him work it out in the past. So I think it's pretty safe from that perspective. Um, that being said, I'm not targeting him. I think that it's a hard ballpark to hit in. I think that there's a lot safer options here as well for someone who I'm like, I don't, with the two, Chapman and Yandy, like I know who they are. Spencer Torkelson, I do not know what that projection is like, and so so there's some level of like risk adverse that I'm just kind of staying away.
Yeah, that makes sense. He's a guy. He's like the epitome of an 8% guy for me. Just have him 8% because the 30 home run season I think is valuable. But I get the hesitancy. So we did it. We made it through 10 rounds of infielders, which means we have 10 more to go. Again, make sure to like this video so Jason gets more likes than Brad, who will be joining us.
Yes.
The next one, and that'll come out later this week. I think we'll have a sheep seats on Friday night, and we will have the inaugural Jason and Brad draft a dinger stream on Sunday.
Nailed it.
We are
Look at
hyped
you.
up for that, and hyped up that I said it right.
Yes.
And look for an article from Paul over on the Substack soon too. So for Jason and Billy and myself, thank you for watching, and go fill some drafts.